talking about merchandising the cactus and succulent table. We'll start with your end cap. You always want it nice and neat. Make sure all the pots are to the edge with your label showing. On your end cap, you're always going to put RTUs, which means ready to use product. Anything that's nice and already potted, ready to go, they can just take the pot home and set on their front porch. So pull everything to the edge. All the labels are showing. These are all nice and neat, spaced out evenly. And then you'll begin your table. Always make sure you have your scrap cart with you. Pull it around with you. That way you don't have to waste time going back and forth to it. So you'll grab a flat and go through your succulents. You'll pull anything that's overgrown, tall, like this one doesn't have many leaves. You'll pull that, that's trash. So go through all your flats and pull all your trash. And then once you have all your trash pulled, you'll go through and start filling holes. So this flat's almost empty, so we'll just take this and start filling these holes. And then once all your holes are filled, you have this empty spot on the table. So you'll grab a flat from your rack, if you have any backup product, and you'll make sure your tag's facing out, and you just fill in that hole. Make sure your tags are facing. The tags are going to be on the flats. This whole side of the table is going to be your 2.5 centimeter. And then this side will be 9 centimeter, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So when these are all full, they're nice and neat. Like I said, you'll pull from the back to fill your holes. Once these are full, you'll move back here. Back here we have a 2.5 flat, but these are called a mimicry flat. And if you look on the label, it'll say it. It's different from just your 2.5 cactus and succulent. These need to stay separate because they are a higher price point. So make sure you keep those separate. Like I said, you'll start with your 2.5. So here's all your 2.5s. These are already nice and neat. After all your 2.5 flats, you'll merchandise your star aloe, your 9 centimeter. Those are always going to be in the front because that's a high product for us. Then you'll start with your dish gardens. As you get to your dish gardens, like this one the leaves are starting to change colors and this one's starting to die out. You'll just scrap this out and fill in the hole. So make sure your dish gardens are nice and spaced evenly. And then you'll just start merchandising shortest to tallest, like a path. With dish gardens, make sure your dish gardens aren't, there's no holes in them. Make sure they're spaced. Like this one has a hole in it where the succulent has died. So we'll scrap this out and refill that spot. So you'll just pull the product forward to fill that hole and keep going. If they have a label on the pot, make sure your label is facing. Make sure everything's to the edge and nice and neat. Spacing is a major factor on this table. Obviously it's super full, so make sure you have everything nice and neat and spaced. On the Smart Planet, you're going to want the Smart Planet logo facing out, not the label of the pot. Fix these. Touch everything on your table, fix it up, and then we'll go to the hanging baskets. Always make sure your hanging baskets are merchandised together. So like these three are the same product, so we'll merchandise them together. 4. Always make sure they're alive. Sometimes they're up high and you can't really tell, so take them down and make sure they're still nice and healthy. You can take your trash cart and head to the other side of the table. Which is the 9cm side. So you do the same thing. Pull your scrap from this side and place it in your flats. Refill. Make sure all the flats are full. Like I said before, for inventory purposes, it makes it a lot easier when you have to count them when your flats are full. Make sure everything's nicely, neatly to the edge of the table. And then when you get here, notice that obviously these two go together. So you pull this off the table and organize these. Pull your holes. And I would take your time with the cactus because obviously you can get poked and splinters in your fingers and stuff like that. So always take your time. Don't rush through the cactus table. Be careful. Empty flat, you'll put it on your trash cart. Pull these back up. And now that looks much better now that you've put them together. So you'll go to the next thing, which is aloe vera. With aloe vera, you want all these tags facing out towards you. So this row will face out this way. You don't have tags. If you find any weeds or anything in your plants, just make sure you pull those as you see them. So you see how nice and neat that looks with all the tags turned out. You'll do the same thing with this side. Make sure your tags are out. You'll do it all the way to the back. If there's any extra signs laying around, make sure you take those off the table because there's no point in them being there. These don't have a little extension, so we'll take this extras. That way people can reach them. All these baskets are merchandised together, and these are merchandised together. So you just keep going through your table and making sure these are the same thing. They're aloes, so they need the tag facing out. Make sure your flats are full. Bring everything to the front. And then you'll pull through your whole table just like as you would anything else. So this one doesn't have many, all the leaves are starting to die off. Scrap this out and refill that hole. Okay. There are two different size quarts, so make sure you keep these separate. The Smart Planet is obviously with the Smart Planet, and these little black pots are a different category on your inventory, so make sure you keep those separate. Make sure your Smart Planet label is facing out. And on to the next. spacing. Have your label facing out. A lot of times you can take this label off and put it out here on the outside. That way people can actually see the price instead of it just being in between the plants. This would be trash. If you're gonna have a sign on the table, make sure it's in the correct spot, and it's gonna be between your 8-foot grid, right in the middle. When you get to your discard, your RTUs on this side, make sure they're nice and spaced so they don't rot easily. Make sure you display them with the same price point. Tags out, edge of the table, just says anything else. Make sure you don't have anything on the ground. I would put this on a backup rack instead of on the ground. Make sure all these don't have any rotten plants in them. Make sure they're all healthy, faced correctly. These have a hang tag, so you want your hang tag facing out. And then remember to put the Smart Planet logo on the outside.